Welcome back to our channel where we share updates and untold stories about Catherine, Princess of Wales, and her royal family. Today, we bring you some news. King Charles's big decision for George amid Prince William's huge plan made Catherine heartbroken. As Prince George of Wales nears the onset of early adolescence, the interaction between entrenched royal tradition and constitutional imperative increasingly influences his development. The regulations that regulate the training of an heir to the crown are now transitioning from the periphery of family life to more pronounced scrutiny by those in close proximity to the royal household. Recent reports from individuals close to the family say that talks are going on about slowly putting into place and formally applying the rules that are usually followed for direct heirs. These conversations are not just about running the business. They also deal with important issues about how to balance the monarchy's institutional needs with the Prince and Princess of Wales's parenting style. They have tried to give their children as normal a childhood as possible in the unusual setting of public life. The moment is important. The practical changes being talked about, most notably in travel and education, do more than change routines. They also mark a change in Prince George's public identity from a child who was mostly seen as a son and brother to a boy who is becoming more recognized as the future head of state in terms of his role and responsibilities. This change is a good example of the bigger problems in the House of Windsor during King Charles III's reign. They had to find a way to keep things stable, constitutional, and in line with modern ideas about family life privacy and how to raise the next generation. This article explains the protocols being discussed, their historical roots, how they will affect the way the Wales family raises their children, and the role of the current monarch in making these choices. The Unseen Protocol: Protecting the Line of Succession. One of the main institutional criteria for families at the top of the hereditary succession is to reduce the danger to the crown's continuation. In royal practice, there is a stringent restriction that primary heirs cannot fly together on the same plane when they reach a certain age, which is usually about 12 years old. This regulation is not written down in law. The reason for this convention is simple and practical. It is meant to lower the very small but very serious chance that a single accident could hurt or kill several high-ranking members of the order of succession at the same time, which would cause constitutional confusion and national distress. It is helpful to provide a few definitional points to make it clear what is at stake. The line of succession is the order in which people are legally and traditionally allowed to take over the throne. It is important for the line to be clear and unambiguous, because the identity of the monarch is important for both ceremonial continuity and the functioning of a number of constitutional instruments, from the granting of royal assent to the maintenance of a symbolic unity for the nation. An unwritten rule in the royal context refers to a long-standing practice adhered to by the family and its advisors, possessing the weight of history and precedent, although without explicit legislative or publicly announced regulatory expression. The travel protocol is one such practice. Its legitimacy comes from the institutional need to maintain the state's continuity and the well-being of people who will take on its duties. In practice, the policy would mean that Prince George and his father, Prince William, could not fly together if they were both traveling as senior members of the royal family. This split would apply to both official trips, such as state visits or tours abroad, and private trips like family vacations. The effect is not only on the logistics, it also changes the way families make trip plans. If Prince George were to travel alone, he would have to be away from his father's company while his father travels with the younger children, Princess Charlotte and Prince Louis. This creates a long-term official separation that goes against the close-knit family life that the Waleses have tried to maintain. It is essential to recognize that this action does not stem from personal animosity or an intention to separate the kid from his family. Instead, it is a preventive institutional decision. The goal is to make sure that a single plane crash doesn't create many vacancies in the line of succession at the same time. This might have a big impact on the Constitution and the country as a whole. The family will have to make personal sacrifices and changes in order to follow this norm, but its main goal is clearly to protect the stability and continuation of the monarchy as an institution. There is a precedent for the rule in live memory. When Prince William turned 12, he started traveling on his own, much like his father, who was then the Prince of Wales. That precedent is part of the institutional memory that is helping people make choices about Prince George right now. It is also important to note that these kinds of procedures have been put into place with care for family life, frequently gradually, as the kid grows older and the needs of duty require more separation. In addition to the basic order not to travel together, the royal family's security system usually plans for a number of other situations. These include using multiple types of ground transportation, staggered schedules, and a combination of helicopters, private planes, and motorcades. There are also safe places where senior royals may stay. The goal is to make sure that the state can keep going and that the Constitution can be used right away in case of an accident or security breach. Even if these arrangements have to be kept secret, they are based on a clear risk management plan that other well-known organizations that rely on the survival and health of a limited number of key people are also acquainted with. Historical context. Tragedies in royal aviation. The institution's reluctance about co-travel among prominent individuals is founded on specific sad events in the contemporary history of the royal family aviation disasters that resulted in fatalities and left lasting impacts on both the family and the country. These events have not only been used as rhetorical devices, they have also had a real impact on the rules that are presently being followed. A consideration of various historical events and their subsequent emotional and institutional repercussions elucidates the seriousness with which preventative measures are regarded. The 1937 Ostend crash, the death of Princess Cecilia. On November 16, 1937, a Junkers Ju-52 aircraft carrying Princess Cecilia of Greece and Denmark and other members of the Hesse family crashed in Ostend, Belgium. This was a very scary event. Princess Cecilia, who was 26 and pregnant, was traveling with her husband Georg Donatus, hereditary Grand Duke of Hesse, their 2 young kids, and her mother-in-law, Grand Duchess Eleanor. The group was on their way from Darmstadt, Germany to London for a family wedding when the plane hit thick fog as it got close to its planned stop at Steen Airport. The pilot, who was trying to land in very poor sight, sadly let one of the jet's wings hit a factory chimney. The plane subsequently caught fire and crashed, killing all 11 people on board. The disaster had immediate and deep impacts on the royal family's extended kin. It showed in a very real way how one calamity might wipe out a whole branch of a royal family tree, and it caused tremendous personal pain for those who knew the dead. The tragedy was especially terrible for the young Prince Philip, Princess Cecilia's nephew, who was just 16 at the time. He was removed from his school at Gordonstown to attend the funerals in Germany, which had a lifelong effect on him. The 1937 accident formed a part of the royal household's collective memory as a clear illustration of the risks of travel. This helped them make decisions about how to keep family members safe, as their life depends on the stability of the state. The 1942 Scotland crash, Prince George, Duke of Kent, dies. The family had another deadly flying accident during World War II when Prince George, Duke of Kent, died on August 25, 1942. The Duke, who was King George V's 4th son and Queen Elizabeth II's uncle, was an Air Commodore in the Royal Air Force and was on a short Sunderland flying boat headed for Iceland on what has been called a non-operational trip to check out RAF bases. The plane took off from Invergordon, Ross-shire, and crashed onto a hill named Eagles Rock in Caithness, Scotland, for no apparent reason. There were 15 persons on board, but only one survived the rear gunner. Prince George's death was historically significant since he was the first member of the royal family to die while serving in the military in almost 400 years. His death shocked the whole country and hit the royal family hard, especially his older brother, King George VI. The circumstances were strange and showed how dangerous it is to fly during warfare, even if you're in the military. The experience made institutions increasingly more careful about protecting senior royals when they travel, especially when they are in military or operational settings. The 1972 air show crash. Prince William of Gloucester died. A third event that changed how the royals felt about flying was the death of Prince William of Gloucester in an air accident on August 28, 1972, when he was taking part in the Goodyear International Air Trophy at Halfpenny Green near Wolverhampton. Prince William, who was said to be a skilled and certified pilot, was flying a Piper Cherokee Arrow throughout the tournament. The aircraft seemed to lose control shortly after takeoff. It hit a tree and plummeted into a bank before exploding into flames during a steep banking turn at a low altitude. Prince William, who was 30 years old and a first cousin of Queen Elizabeth II, and his co-pilot, Viral Mitchell, both died right away. Prince William of Gloucester's death was particularly sad since he was young and had a lot of potential. He was also well liked by both his family and the public. At the time, he was toward the head of the line of succession and was well liked by people his age, notably Prince Charles, who subsequently named his older son after him. The disaster was a sobering reminder that the hazards of flying aren't only there during war or official trips. Even traveling for fun or private reasons may be deadly. Institutional memory and risk management. These catastrophes have had a big impact on how the royal family does things. They provide policies with a real historical basis that may not be taken seriously if they were seen as too formal. Instead, the travel regulations are institutional reactions that have been fashioned by experience. They are preventative measures meant to preserve individual family members, and by extension, the constitutional continuation of the monarchy. There is also a psychological institutional memory at work. Senior household officials and advisors know that a high-profile accident involving more than one senior royal would have immediate practical effects, such as disrupting state functions, possibly causing a crisis in the public's sense of continuity and creating a complicated legal and administrative process for succession. The symbolic and constitutional stakes are still significant, even though flying is statistically safe these days. These factors explain why advisors prefer well-defined but subtly executed procedures over improvised arrangements. The Wales's contemporary methodology in royal child rearing. In light of this institutional caution, the Prince and Princess of Wales have tried to create a unique way of living as a family that focuses on being present as parents, being emotionally warm, and giving their kids a sense of normality. Their parenting approach is quite different from the more aloof or formal techniques that have been used in the past with royal children. Through their public work and private decisions, the pair has shown that they want to make the children's home life fit, in as well as possible, with the responsibilities of their public duties. The Princess of Wales has been a strong voice for a philosophy that focuses on early childhood development, safe bonding, and creating a caring environment. She speaks out in public about problems that impact families and children, and it's clear that she wants her home to be a stable and loving environment for her boys and daughter. Sources close to the family have said that her main goal has been to make sure the kids feel loved, protected, and stable, despite the unprecedented amount of attention their lives are getting. This kind of thinking has led to real decisions regarding where the family lives and how the kids go to school. The family's move from Kensington Palace to Adelaide Cottage on the Windsor estate is a good example of these values. Many people thought that the relocation was an attempt to make the living situation more private and less busy than downtown London. This would provide the kids more outside space, a calmer neighborhood, and the safety of a rural estate. According to commentators, Windsor was selected because it was close to family and had less media coverage than the capital. This would provide the children an upbringing more like that of many other families, but in a safe institutional setting. The Wales's choice of Lambrook School for their 3 children shows how much they want their family life to stay the same and be familiar. The parents have shown that they want to keep George, Charlotte, and Louis together throughout the important years of their schooling by picking the same school for all 3 of them. This choice is in line with a broader educational philosophy that encourages sibling relationships and wants to keep a common social space as the kids become older. Parenting tensions, personal instincts versus public responsibility. Given these priorities, the idea of making formal travel rules that will require Prince George to be physically separated from his parents and younger siblings is a difficult one for the couple. It puts their parental instincts against their institutional duties. Reports say that the Princess of Wales is very upset at the idea of putting her oldest son on different planes, which would mean a long-term practical distance. Her fear doesn't come from being against her constitutional obligation. It comes from the common parental need to keep the family together and keep kids from having experiences that can make them feel alone. It is important to stress that the Wales's way of doing things is not an effort to break with tradition, but rather to make royal family life more contemporary in ways that are possible. The difficulty of balancing an active parenting role with the demands of statecraft is a reflection of the larger issue facing modern monarchies: how to keep the integrity of the institution while adapting to changing social norms regarding family privacy and child welfare. The Wales family must carefully negotiate every choice they make concerning travel schooling and being in public, balancing their public duties with the private demands of the family, how people see things, and the political situation. These changes have effects that go beyond the family. A lot of the legitimacy of monarchies comes from how much people love them and how much they feel that the royal family shares their ideals. Disruptions to family life that are very noticeable, especially those that are seen as severe or too strict, might lead to criticism of the institution's relevance in contemporary times. On the other hand, apparent attempts to make royal practice more human and to treat the children with care might increase public support and empathy. So the Waleses and the senior family must make judgments that are not only constitutional but also take into account how the public feels and how the monarchy fits into the culture as a whole. The way ahead. Learning and guidance. Along with the subject of travel, there are a number of choices to be made about Prince George's education and mentoring. These are very important for his long-term preparation for public life. These issues pertain to fundamental inquiries about character development, intellectual readiness, and the fostering of personal resilience and civic virtues anticipated of a head of state. The issue of boarding school. Going to a boarding school has long been a rite of passage for members of the senior royal family. For many generations of British aristocracy, boarding schools have been seen as places that teach kids how to be independent, lead, and handle the duties of public life. In the royal family, there are a few well-known examples. Prince Philip and King Charles went to Gordonstoun, a school in Scotland, known for its focus on character building and outdoor activities. Prince William and Prince Harry went to Eton College, a historic boarding school near Windsor that has taught many famous people. Many people think that Prince George may go to Eton College where his father went. Eton College has a long history of training future leaders of the kingdom. Parents have to decide whether and when he should go to boarding school, which is usually around age 13 for most British schools. People who support boarding school for heirs say that the experience may help them become more independent, strong, and able to function well in formal and hierarchical settings. These are all good traits for someone who is about to take on a public and ceremonial position. Boarding might mean being away from the nuclear family for long periods of time, which helps the young student get used to living away from home and makes his social networks richer by adding classmates from other backgrounds. On the other hand, those who value family unity may see boarding as an undesirable extension of forced separation, particularly in a family that has stressed being together. So the parents need to think about whether the possible benefits to their child's development, more independence, maturity, and exposure to institutional life are worth the emotional costs of less daily interaction. It is also possible that if the parents choose boarding, they will want a slow and steady transition that includes regular visits and conscious attempts to keep the family close. The final choice will be based on how well the family's expressed desire for a close-knit upbringing fits with the need to keep things the same. Other options and preparations that go along with boarding school is not the only way to become ready. Modern ways of training heirs generally mix formal schooling with hands-on learning, such as positions in charity organizations, internships in public service, language immersion, and exposure to diplomatic settings. Some families choose to send their children to study abroad for a while to help them learn about other cultures or to help them learn a new language. These abilities are becoming more and more important for a contemporary, globally involved monarch. There is also room for personalized tutoring in subjects that are directly related to constitutional duties such as constitutional law, the history of the Crown constitutional conventions, and how government works. This kind of training might be part of a normal school day, or given by a private mentor. Traditionally, military service has been another way to develop disciplined leadership and public trust. The British royal family has recent examples of this in the armed service careers of senior royals, and this type of service is still a culturally important option if the family chooses it. What Princess Anne does as a mentor. Family mentoring, in addition to formal learning, has been shown to be an important part of getting Prince George ready for his future duties. Reports say that King Charles III has chosen his sister Princess Anne, the Princess Royal, to be a key part of this informal system of guiding. There are a number of reasons why Princess Anne was chosen as a mentor that make sense based on her expertise and reputation. People have thought for a long time that Princess Anne is one of the hardest-working, most responsible, and most practical members of the royal family. Because she works hard, is straightforward, and stays involved with a lot of public obligations, she has won a lot of respect from institutions. Some other royal characters are recognized for being more ceremonial or social, but she is renowned for being serious about public service and for being strict about her duties. As someone who has spent her whole life doing royal responsibilities, she has a unique perspective on what is expected of those in high-ranking positions in the monarchy. Princess Anne may provide different kinds of advice than Prince William since she is his mentor. Prince William will be the main father and teacher, but Princess Anne's advice may provide a generational and wider perspective. She can give practical advice on a lot of things that a future king or queen will have to deal with, like how to behave in public, how to handle patronages and charitable interests, how to understand the administrative system that supports the crown, and how to deal with the stress of being in the public eye all the time. There have been hints that the mentoring is meant to grow naturally via frequent contact, common activities, and discussion rather than as an official school program. Reports say that Prince George is excited about the idea of learning from his great-aunt. He is believed to like her and be open to her advice. The focus on lived experience and practical advice in the mentoring is meant to add to not replace other parts of his upbringing. The idea is to connect him with a group of trusted family advisors, people who have both institutional memory and a proven ability to model the behavior and goals that a future king should have. Mentoring as a whole-person approach. Preparing a future king or queen in a realistic way goes beyond just teaching. Mentors show how to behave in public, how to handle relationships with patrons, and most importantly, how to talk about personal problems that come with public life in a safe space. In this way, the combination of parental supervision, senior family mentoring, and potentially a small group of outside specialists, psychologists, constitutional advisors, and educational consultants creates a multi-layered support structure. This kind of structure may assist in lessening the feeling of being alone that public positions can often cause. It can also provide a young person the skills they need to balance their personal identity with their public duties. King Charles III's job is to protect the past and make sure the future is safe. The proceedings now being contemplated for Prince George do not transpire in a family vacuum. They are ultimately directed by the reigning monarch, whose principal obligation is to the institution of the crown. as King Charles III is in charge of preserving the monarchy's constitutional stability and popular respect. As a custodian, he has to balance the needs of the institution with the needs of his family. The king's stewardship is shown in a number of ways. First, his dedication to following certain customs, including those rules about travel and succession, shows that he understands that these customs are important for the monarchy to work properly. From this perspective, the implementation of distinct travel arrangements for an heir is not an arbitrary imposition, but a manifestation of his obligation to safeguard the crown's continuation and the nation's constitutional order. Second, it is clear that King Charles understands how these steps would affect people. He is not just an impersonal keeper of tradition, he is a grandfather who has lived through the ups and downs of royal life. The story that he had a hard and often lonely upbringing is part of the public record and has made him more aware of how the next generation is nurtured. So his approach to putting procedures into place has been called tempered by a desire to minimize unnecessary hardship while making sure that the necessary preparations for future responsibilities are made. Third, the king's recent participation in family discussions, allegedly held at Balmoral throughout the summer, indicates a collective effort to devise a compassionate and feasible method for implementing the necessary procedures. These talks show that the king wants to find a compromise between the needs of the institution and the needs of the family. The choice of Princess Anne to be a mentor shows that they want to gather a group of trusted family members whose expertise can help Prince George grow. The king's role as a precautionary measure in constitutional issues. The king's duties are not only ceremonial, they include the responsibility of upholding constitutional traditions and making sure the monarchy can still do its job. Sometimes this role means becoming involved in family matters, such as issues about who will inherit, who will be the regent, and if the heirs are ready. The law that governs succession in the UK is made up of statutes, case law, and constitutional conventions. For example, the Succession to the Crown Act, 2013, updated some parts of succession law, while the Act of Settlement, 1701, set out basic rules. These laws do not say how families should be set up at home, but they do show why it is important for the line of succession to be clear and stable. The king's position is an effort to harmonize two complementary concepts. The monarchy has been around for hundreds of years, and its rituals, constitutional roles, and precedents help keep things stable and consistent. On the other hand, modernizing impulses, whether they come from changing society views about family life, media scrutiny, or personal beliefs, require changes in how the family runs its public and private lives. It seems that King Charles's goal is to help with that change to lead the next generation in a manner that protects the crown's dignity and function while also meeting the psychological and relational needs of family members as much as feasible. Conclusion: a family following a unique path. Prince George and his family will go through a lot of changes in the next several years. The official use of long-standing royal rules will change his daily life and public persona. In a big way, he will start to take on the traits of the heir apparent, both in terms of what he does and what he represents. That change will require the Waleses to keep negotiating between their desire for a private family life that is intimate and stable, and the constitutional and ceremonial responsibilities that the monarchy must meet. The Princess of Wales's stated worries about what would happen if her oldest son traveled away from his family and perhaps even went to school are not signs of rebellion, but of normal parental worry. Her attitude is in line with a common parental urge to protect, keep the family together, and save their kids from unneeded trouble. These reactions are common among parents of all ranks, and show that choices that seem to be solely institutional at first look have a human side. The next stage for Prince George will be one of adjusting to new routines, the gradual separations that duty requires, and the increasing public awareness of his eventual constitutional position. His parents will guide him, and they will always be his main sources of emotional support and advice. He will also benefit from the mentorship and example of experienced senior royals like Princess Anne. He will be ready to handle the burdens and responsibilities that will come with his eventual accession through school and public exposure. The royal family's management of Prince George's transition exemplifies a significant challenge faced by hereditary institutions in contemporary society, the necessity to adapt while preserving fundamental continuity and addressing modern expectations concerning personal freedom, privacy, and child welfare. The Wales family's discussions regarding travel education and mentoring should not be seen as just private family affairs. They should be seen as part of an ongoing institutional effort to balance tradition with the needs of modern living. In the end, getting ready for a future king or queen is like taking care of a family, an institution, and a national symbol. The proposed safeguards aim to protect the crown from disastrous uncertainty while striving to maintain the family warmth and stability that the Prince and Princess of Wales have emphasized. People who are seeing this era develop both as observers and as citizens will be interested and sympathetic. They will know that there are universal conflicts between duty and domesticity and between public commitment and private attachment. As Prince George goes through his teenage years with a mix of parental care and constitutional education, his growth will be monitored as both a private family event and something that affects the whole country. How the Waleses, with help from senior members of the royal family and advice from the king, go about this will affect not just his personal development, but also how the monarchy portrays itself to a contemporary world that wants both stability and kindness. This change is a small part of the bigger problem the crown faces: how to be true to the traditions that keep it going while also being open to the reality of the people who may one day take it forward. Thank you for watching the video. Please let us know your thoughts, and goodbye for now.